This video is about making a very simple sweater that will fit a 15-inch American Girl Bitty Baby doll, a 16 to 17-inch stuffed rabbit. It will probably fit the 18-inch dolls also, like American Girl or Batat, but I haven't tried them on yet. This is made with a Nellie B weaving loom or a similar potholder loom. And the first thing is to make 4 squares of the same color. And I've made 4 in red and 4 in white. And rectangles and squares are a very simple way to make a sweater without too much trouble. The yarn I've used on both of these is Red Heart Super Saver. Now, on one piece, one square, I have taken seam tape. In this case, this is hem tape, so I cut it to the right length and then folded it in half and pressed it. And this one is a bias binding that I usually use for quilts, but it worked in this application, so I cut that to length. Then I used, in my case, I used my 1937 Singer Model 1588 sewing machine, which is set up as a hand crank, to stitch the binding or seam tape more or less in the center in 2 strips. So you see 2 strips there. Now, the reason I used that machine, I could have also used my Spartan. Both of those machines have a stitch setting of 30 stitches per inch. And when I'm working with woven yarns or knit yarns, by using such a high stitch setting, you can make sure that you've gotten every single thread. Now, as you can see, the seam tape is just a little bit shorter than the edge. So what I did was continue up past the seam tape. I made sure I went to the edge, forward and reverse a couple of times, really went over this. Now, once you get that done, and you only do that on one square, and this is the wrong side of the square, the next step is to cut this in between the 2 pieces of seam tape. And you will, in essence, have 2 front pieces of a cardigan. So once that is cut, that will be 2 pieces of the front, and the next step is to stitch them together using either a tapestry needle and the same kind of yarn and a whip stitch, or you can crochet the 2 edges together. Go in about, I counted 4 crochet stitches in, but it depends on how you edged it, how big your stitches are. It might be 5, but go in an equal amount, and you want to leave about 3 1/4 inches in the center. So this will be your neck area, and this is obviously the shoulders. So you will then have a front and back of a sweater. You will have 2 pieces. You could stitch it together first and cut it afterward, but what you will have is a front and back of a sweater, which then gets laid out like this. So here's the front with the 2 pieces, there's the back, they're stitched at the shoulders, and then you take your other 2 squares and you center them. Their center lines up with your seam, so that you're laying it out like this. And you will then stitch each of these sleeves to the their entire length to the sweater, like that. And then, so you'll have the two pieces of the cardigan sewn at the shoulders. Once you get this stitched, you could then put it on the doll and make sure that these arms go around the arms, depending on the doll that you have. And the last step is to stitch. You'll actually probably start here and stitch the underseam of the sleeve and the bottom of the sides. So that's how we're going to do it. And the first step, I'm going to go ahead and cut this. And as I said, the seam tape is on the inside, on the wrong side. And when I cut this, this is going to be it's going to be fringed. So that, again, is why I use the machine I use, to make sure that that fringe is not going to fray. It's not going to go any further than my stitching and the seam tape. So that's the first step, and the second step is to sew the two pieces together at the shoulders. Okay, and you can see that this is put together. Now, my two things, my strips weren't exactly in the center, so I have one less stitch on this shoulder than I do on this shoulder. This, my loose loops where I ended the pot holder shape were on this side, and this is also just my beginning tails, and there was a tail left over from the pot holder. So I used this edge simply so I could pick up those loops. So that's where we are now. And as I said, so now you can kind of just leave it like that, and this is the front and that's the back. These are the right sides. And now you can just do the exact same thing on the sides. Just crochet it together evenly on the sides. You can pin it in place if you want to. When I went across here, I started a yarn here and worked this way, and because I didn't want to end a yarn and start a yarn, I did a slip stitch in each of the back neck crochet edge stitches to get over here. So now I will just crochet those together on each side, and we'll put it on a doll or a rabbit, and we'll see how it fits. Okay, this is the 15-inch Bitty Baby Doll by American Girl. Now, the reason I made it with just two squares, one for the front and one for the back, and made it a cardigan, is because this way you're able to fit it to different sized dolls. Now, American Girl dolls are a little bit chubby, they're stuffed. You might have a 15-inch doll that's thinner, or this is Fred the rabbit, and he's almost as wide as a 15-inch doll, but it'll fit him different because his arms are obviously not vinyl. So you can fit it to each doll, and what you have to do is on the arm, as I said, now what I would do, I would put it on the doll you plan on using it for, and then I would start at the cuff and stitch, this won't stay out of the way, stitch the seam under the sleeve first so that you get to the armhole, and then match the front to the back and stitch the lower half together, and just put it together like that. And when you go to pull the back to the front, it will probably pull off like that and then be attached at the back. So it's going to be an open cardigan. And then you can either put, I'm probably going to take just two pieces of yarn or a piece of yarn and go through the neck edge here and pull it together. So let me sew this one together, and you can see what it looks like on this doll. I crocheted it together so far, which gives me like a, I don't know, a stand-up edge. But to do the sides and under the sleeves, I'm going to use a tapestry needle and just whip stitch it together. because then there'll be less bulk under the arm. And there we go. It looks cute. It's a little bit tight on the Bitty Baby doll. The arms, the sleeves end up a little bit long, but I cuffed them, which is really not a problem. And it is cute. It was a little bit tight to get on, but it reaches across everywhere. I mean, it comes out the way I wanted it to come out. I'm not sure how it would fit on the other dolls. I think the 18-inch dolls are a little big for this. I would have to get one out and size it, but so this right now I'll say is for this Bitty Baby doll. But it is cute, and it doesn't take that long to put together at all. And now you know why, because of the way the edge is fringed. You know, you could put a cute little button and Velcro at the top, or a ribbon at the top. And I put this together quickly, so there's a couple of my loose ends sticking out. But it does fit, and you know, it's adorable and easy to make with just the 4 squares. The bonnet is in one of my other videos on the Nellie weaving loom. Also very simple to make, only out of 1 square. So, but there is a simple Nellie weaving loom sweater for a 15-inch American Girl Bitty Baby. Now here it is on Fred, and it's just as cute. It's just as cute on Fred. Now Fred is from McCall's Crafts number 3760, and he is called the Small Bunny on the pattern. This is a vintage pattern that may be still available. I made Fred about 30 years ago, and you know, he held up well. This is Fred number 2. The first one lasted quite a while too, and he's over there. But it looks very cute on Fred too. And he is 19 inches long. Here it is on my knitted doll. Now this is a Jean Greenhouse, I think that's her last name, Jemima Jane. And I made her arms and legs a little different from the pattern. But Jean Greenhouse does many patterns for knitted dolls and toys, beautiful patterns. And so here it is on her. And she is 18 inches tall. And she's just about as wide as an American Girl or Batat 18-inch doll. So I'll go get one of them and we'll see how it looks on them. And here it is on a 1978 Batat doll, 18-inch Batat doll, same size as the American Girl dolls. So it does fit all of them, from Rabbit to the 15-inch doll and the 18-inch knitted doll by Jean Greenhouse, the Batat doll, and I know it would fit my American Girl doll, Kaya. It was tightest on the 15-inch American Girl Bitty Baby doll. So the next one I make, I'll keep that in mind, and I might whip stitch the whole thing together instead of crocheting, which takes up a little more space. So there is an easy to make sweater for 15 and 18-inch dolls.